A show of patriotism and a display of pageantry to celebrate what was won and to honour all that was lost by a heroic generation 80 years ago.
Everything now was very, very serious. Those bullets come towards you were real.
Enormous crowds had gathered outside the House and all over the centre of London.
Back then they took to the streets to listen together for the news they had longed for.
Hostilities will end officially at 1 minute after midnight tonight, Tuesday, the 8th of May. The German war is therefore at an end.
It was a euphoric moment after 5 years, 8 months and 6 days of the bloodiest conflict in history. This was finally the end of the war.
We may allow ourselves a brief period of rejoicing. Today is Victory in Europe Day.
The announcement was met with unrestrained jubilation. And street parties erupted countrywide. The people who had suffered and survived were determined for better days, and they celebrated long into the night. They are celebrations we try to emulate today and recreate that fun 8 decades on. VE Day, a nation remembers.
My dear friend, this is your hour.
Commemorations began on Monday as Winston Churchill's words rang out across London.
This is not a victory of a party or of any class. It's a victory of the great British nation as a whole.
More than 1,000 of today's military then marched from Parliament Square to Buckingham Palace as thousands looked on. Ukrainian troops training in Britain joined with them, understanding too what it is to struggle for a better world. This was how the capital chose to begin remembering the day the Allies formally accepted Germany's surrender. King Charles's grandfather led the nation then, led it in the defeat of fascism in Europe. And on this day, wearing George VI's uniform, King Charles honoured the hardships and heroics of the Second World War with 3 generations of his family. King leading country to mark a bloody conflict ultimately crowned with victory. His grandchildren, Princes George and Louis and Princess Charlotte, looked on, as their mother, the Princess of Wales, shared words and smiles with those who bore witness to a past that gave us our present. The unmistakable red, white and blue of the red arrows then streaked across the skies. A spectacle like no other, observed by veterans wrapped up in their memories, and watched too by the young, just enjoying the moment.
Anybody want tea?
At number 10, proud veterans joined politicians for tea, their presence pride of place. And elsewhere, tables and decorations were spread across pavements and greens.
To see everybody come out and celebrate, it's just amazing.
Union flags poised and ready, and with the coming together of family and friends nationwide to share sandwiches and stories.
Cheers!
I remember I was 8 years of age. I wanted VE Day every day. It was so much fun.
And the party continued in Melton Mowbray,
Straighten up and fly right.
with some singing in Hull, and in Blackburn there was cake.
We've tried to base it loosely on rations, but I don't think Prosecco was in it either, but hey-ho.
For some, these days have been deeply personal. For others, they were a chance to learn, to echo the spirit of 1945, the spirit of peace, resilience and community.
We will pay thanks to those who have paid the ultimate price, and without them we wouldn't have enjoyed today.
A country in remembrance, honouring sacrifices made. This week has been a time to recollect both the heroics and the horrors of the conflict that changed Europe.
We looked out towards the beach and we could see the explosions, the rockets, the battleship firing.
The impact of war left an indelible mark on Ken Cook, who is the last remaining D-Day veteran in York.
It was like bonfire night, 1,000 times worse. I used to have flashbacks.
As a teenager, he went from working in a sweet factory to being part of the Normandy landings.
To me, as an 18-year-old, it was all exciting, new. People waiting ashore with their rifles up here.
A young man's view of war that then changed.
We sat around having our breakfast. Then somebody says, where's Geordie? Have you seen Harry? Everything now was very, very serious. Those bullets come towards you were real. Anybody who went through D-Day without getting hurt was very, very lucky. You can't celebrate a war, I don't think. You can remember. That's what you do. You remember, you don't celebrate, I think.
Ken wanted to remember this anniversary in Normandy, a place he has revisited often.
It's the same every time. It's emotional. It's an honour, really, to represent all the people that didn't come home.
For those who didn't come home, there are symbols of remembrance on show. On Tuesday, this striking sea of red appeared at the Tower of London in an installation of 30,000 ceramic poppies.
Each one of these poppies represents a man that's given his life for this country, and I thank them, I admire them, they're my heroes.
A schoolboy stood in salute of that service. Harrison Machin, the son of a beefeater, and Queen Camilla added the final poppies to the display.
We chatted about all the poppies being here, and it was really, really nice for them to be here.
Each one is owned by the Imperial War Museum and kept for the nation, a flower synonymous with sacrifice, and 6 years of war cost the lives of millions. At the heart of any commemorations must be the remaining few who lived through it. Gwenffron and Kathleen in Wales, both now 101, have stories of silent service to tell. Talking to the First Minister, Eluned Morgan, they spoke of their work at Bletchley Park, the home of Britain's codebreakers.
It was all very strange to start with, to say the least. You know, it's a very different life. We were just given a pep talk and put the fear of God into you about the secrecy of it all. And we had to sign the Official Secrets Act.
Their memories, even now, are still vivid.
The sounds of the machines clattering all day. We didn't have time to talk, or they say don't talk at meal times.
Even with the colleagues?
But, I mean, that was not talk of work.
Gwenffron and Kath worked to decipher military communications, never talking about what they did, even when they could.
My husband died without knowing. It's just something I never talked about. I didn't realise at the time, you know, that we'd become so important, because to us it was just a wartime job.
Today, now, I feel this is doing a little bit of goodness, because it's bringing younger children, younger people to know what happened in those days.
Oh, here we go.
It was a war won mainly by young men in combat, but courage and determination came from women too.
It's my boy.
Megan Langdale in Moffat near Dumfries still has an affection for the work she did, the Spitfires she helped build as a welder for the RAF.
I was one of the first. We were fortunate. We knew what we were doing was essential.
And Jean Dixon helped repair those planes.
You had to get it right, no messing. We had a lot of work to do on the damaged aircraft, and I think mostly the people who didn't come back or came back injured, you know, that had a big impact on you.
Of course, down on the farm, it's the land girls who are beginning to do all the work.
Women of wartime also worked the land when so many men were called to the front line to fight. 200,000 young women enlisted in the Land Army in World War II. Annie Duplock from Leicestershire was one of them.
That was the first day I was in the Land Army and they took me photo. I'm quite proud of myself.
Annie lied about her age just to get in, for reasons of sartorial elegance.
I was interested in the uniform.
But working to feed a nation was hard.
It was tiring. Mending fences and cutting edges and mowing thistles down. Everything that come along. I quite enjoyed it. I'd go back now if I could.
Connie Skelton would too. Her role as a land girl remains a source of great pride to her.
I had a good life. It was a healthy life. I hoped I contributed to some of the things that the country needed at the time. I'm glad I'm able to tell it so that the country will know what us girls did. Because most of the girls our age, well, women of our age, have gone.
Theirs is a humility we must recognise. The Britain we have today is thanks to them. It's what the every woman did for her country in an effort to protect democracy. With Parliament the backdrop, on Wednesday a table was set for 80 hidden heroes, those with stories less well known. George Arthur Roberts was born in Trinidad, a rifleman in World War I, known for throwing bombs back over enemy lines. Too old for combat in World War II, he became a firefighter.
He would have been quite animated about the threat from Hitler and sent both his sons to fight in World War II as well. Both of them were prisoners of war.
George was a first responder to the carnage of the Blitz.
In all honesty, that defence of the empire and of British values would have been important to him.
2 millions of fighting men for the struggle with fascism.
People from across the British Empire played a crucial role in the fight for victory.
All the life gone to the British government.
With valiant contributions from men like Inayat Ali.
That's for the Queen Victoria.
A man who can barely hold the medals he earned as a Muslim soldier fighting for the British in India. He may be 105 years old, but he remembers the significance of his role. His son Abdul explained.
The things might have been different, but because of their help and their martyrdoms, and today what we see, we might not have seen.
80 years on, it is as important as ever to tell the forgotten stories and find those who are rarely recognised, because profound recognition is what they deserve. Thanksgiving and remembrance came once again on Thursday at Westminster Abbey. At the grave of the unknown warrior, the King and Queen, alongside the Prince and Princess of Wales, gathered around the spot which represents sacrifice from all wars, and silence fell in this great royal church. and in locations around the country.
We are here to honour those whose courage, strength and skill, through long years of conflict, wrought victory and a new dawn.
The transition from war to peacetime had come, and those who were strong enough to be here gave thanks.
Let us pray for the welfare of veterans.
Joyce Wilding is 100, Alexander is 10, and the great-great-grandson of Sir Winston Churchill.
It feels really amazing that I can represent my family and also the younger generation about to know and remember everyone in World War II.
After the service, Joyce sat with her grandson to recall the day victory arrived.
It was just so full of people cheering and singing, with the soldiers climbing up the lampposts, because it was a relief, and it was just wondrous after so many years of gloom.
Like at so many events this week, there is proof stories will survive in those born into a different era, not just here in London, but across the UK.
I think it's important to celebrate VE Day because we need to commemorate those who fought in the war and gave their lives. They gave everything so we could have a nice, happy, safe childhood and a nice life, and we need to respect and remember that.
I think it's important to celebrate VE Day to commemorate all those who have fought for us in the past. I think that it's important to celebrate VE Day to remember the sacrifices that all of our ancestors made.
Show our appreciation. At Alderman Pale High School in Norfolk, they've been researching their family histories, a poignant project that's uncovered facts never known before.
Well, I found out that my great-granddad Frank Davis helped design the cockpit for the Lancaster bomber. I also found out that the place where he worked, Avro, was bombed in the war, but they did it on a bank holiday and everyone had been given the day off, so no one died. I think that's pretty lucky.
Their service and their stories are kept alive through lessons like these.
This is the day that the guns fell silent across Europe.
I think we need to remember for years on end, even after this generation's gone. I think the memory needs to keep living.
So I think it's really important to, celebrate it because it could happen to anyone.
An acknowledgement that VE Day is as relevant today as it was then. The heartfelt and the harrowing tales of heroism must be passed on by veterans such as Owen Filer.
Wonderful life.
A military police officer in the Second World War who gives talks at the school opposite his home in Newport.
And they'd taken my rifle away. I didn't have a rifle.
At 105 years old, he brings war to life.
Andover Airport with bombers taking off.
He actually was there. He knows what happened.
Yeah, it brings back memories of the soldiers that died in the war.
Yeah, memories. And they fought for our lives.
Yeah, and won.
There is nothing but admiration for this hero who fought for king and country and the land where he was born. To keep the freedom that was won, we must remember. And they did in Plymouth, with pomp and with purpose. In Aberdeen, the pipes played. Signs of friendship and loyalty were shared in Bristol as they paid their respects. Young and old were in fine voice in Earlsbot and near Northampton in their hours of celebration. And in Appleby in Cumbria, laughter and tea were the order of the day, tradition at a time of reflection. The finale of festivities was a concert at Horse Guards Parade to commemorate the day Nazi tyranny was defeated. And as Big Ben struck 9 p.m, the King spoke to a nation, just as his grandfather had done to a war-weary population 8 decades ago. George VI was famously not a great orator, but he considered it his duty to speak on a day when victory in Europe had been declared.
Germany, the enemy who drove all Europe into war, has been finally overcome.
And as King Charles spoke, he referenced his grandfather's speech.
While our greatest debt is owed to all those who paid the ultimate price, we should never forget how the war changed the lives of virtually everyone.
Back then, the royal family came out onto the balcony 8 times. Such was the demand from those who'd gathered at Buckingham Palace. And the young Princess Elizabeth famously slipped out anonymously into the crowds and congered with them into the early hours. Something her son said he couldn't promise to match.
I do hope your celebrations tonight are almost as joyful, although I rather doubt I shall have the energy to sing until 2 a.m., let alone, for that matter, to lead you all in a giant conga from here back to Buckingham Palace.
Then out of the darkness came light, as buildings of national significance were bathed in red, white and blue. A promise kept to the greatest generation we will never forget.